各位听众朋友们，大家好，欢迎来到打工族聊房产第16期的节目。那每一个人呢，都可以成为一个成功的房产投资人，你只需要多一些知识，多一些帮助，多一些行动。那在第16期的节目当中呢，我们来听一听奥克兰的市议员是怎样谈一谈奥克兰西区的发展和规划。那他们在这些节目当中呢，主要聊到了西区 Henderson 的旧城改造，还有当年对于 New Lynn 的一些规划和后来 New Lynn 的一些发展。那在节目当中呢，也有一些朋友问到了，可不可以聊一些西区之外的一些城市的规划和交通规划。那我也在后续的一期节目当中呢，会聊到一些东南区、北岸还有中区一些市政府的规划。那在后边的节目当中呢，我也会慢慢的聊到那希望大家可以喜欢我的节目，如果你喜欢的话，那我希望你推荐给你的朋友。那好的，那我们来听一听市议员聊一聊西区的规划和对 Henderson 旧城改造的一些规划和前景的展望。
Welcome to this Auckland Council podcast. Today we're going to find out what Auckland Council and the wider council family is doing to regenerate Henderson to turn it into an urban eco-centre. Henderson has some great things going for it. Within a short distance of the town centre, there's Westwave, Henderson Park, Unitec, a high school and primary school, Corbin Estate Arts Centre, and Waitākere Central Library. It's also a busy transport hub with a train station and bus interchange. But it's fair to say that Henderson needs some love. It has a lot more potential. Let's start with where the idea of an urban eco-centre came from. We spoke with WaitākereWard councillors Penny Hulse and Linda Cooper. Here's Penny Hulse.
This started back in the early 90s when Waitakere became an eco-city, and we always knew that the centre of the West needed to be Henderson, centred around a railway station, making the most of our beautiful streams, building up the businesses in Henderson and having people live close to where they could have easy public transport and where they could shop and recreate. And that was our vision of a lively, gorgeous eco-centre for Henderson.
Linda, what is the overall goal of what you're trying to achieve in the town centre?
I think the most important thing is to recreate a family town, a place where families can live, in some ways be able to get everything they need there, as they did in times gone past, really. We've had somewhat of a downturn and people have gone away from Henderson, and I think we want to attract families back there to actually lift the vibrancy of the town.
What are some of the steps that you're doing to achieve this?
The most important thing is getting the Auckland Council to focus back on the importance of centres like Henderson, and that's why we're so delighted that we were able to lobby and make Henderson an unlock area, which means that the way that it develops and the funding from that redevelopment, the council-owned portion of that gets reinvested back into Henderson. And probably the key focuses are going to be the land that council owns in Henderson, getting that redeveloped and making the most of the magnificent surroundings like Corbin Estate, our twin streams, parks, and the ability for public transport to be uplifted.
So Waitakere City Council started looking at how to regenerate Henderson, and now Auckland Council is. Why does it take so long?
These things do take a long time. Back in old Waitakere days, we had Henderson and New Lynn and Glen Eden were the three key areas that we focused on. Glen Eden had to wait, and hopefully it's now good things are going to happen there, but our focus was on New Lynn, and everyone will know about the undergrounding of rail and the huge amount of investment that went into New Lynn. Henderson was to be the next cab off the ranks, and that's why we built our wonderful and beautiful council chambers there. But then amalgamation happened and everything slowed down as the focus was on other areas, and now it's Henderson's time to shine.
Just for our listeners, Unlock is the priority status that Panuku Development Auckland has given Henderson. Panuku is Council's redevelopment agency. Linda, can you just explain what unlock actually means and how does it relate to Henderson?
Well, there's another category that's before unlock, and that's transform, but that means the council has to put significant amounts of ratepayers' money into buying land. So unlock is not lesser, just means that we have a lot more land that we own, which we want to unlock to reach potential, provide housing in the centre. One of the great things about the housing is that all of those parcels of land are within 500 metres of the train station, so it makes everything walkable. And one of the biggest things that I'm really excited about is that we'll have housing in the centre. Everything will be walkable. And the other thing about people living in the centre is that people commit to the town. And once you commit to a town, you start shopping there, you live there, you send your kids to school there, you travel from there, you might even eventually develop work there, your own business. Those kinds of things have people really, it's about skin in the game. You know, once you've got skin in the game, you want to invest in your own town. And I think that's going to lift the retail. And a lot of people say to me, why is it so bad? Why are the shops $2 shops? Why are they empty? It's because there aren't people in the centre committed to the town. And I think once you have that demand, you'll lift the retail, it'll be a much more vibrant place and people will start to shop there more. I think it'll be a really virtuous circle. It'll create something that people are attracted to. So the unlock portion of it means that we can unlock that potential. When we sell, we have control of who we sell to, and we'll be able to enter into agreements that with those purchasers to really get the outcome we want. And we've been planning this for over 20 years back in Waitākere days. This is now the time where we can deliver on that vision.
Auckland Council's Finance and Performance Committee recently made the decision to sell some council buildings in Henderson but retain the Henderson Civic building. Penny, can you tell us about that decision?
The local board and Linda and I as the local councillors were absolutely supportive of the land surrounding our council chambers being sold, but we would not support at all, and alongside the community from the west, the sale of the council chambers. When the council decided to move its headquarters into Henderson, our lovely civic building was designed together with Te Kawerau Amaki to include the meaning of that real relationship that Waitākere had with Te Kawerau Amaki. They helped design the building alongside the green building design and the green roof that at the time was absolutely unique. So the building has a huge amount of meaning to the community of the West. We've retained that building to be used by the local board and also as a service centre for our local community, and we're really pleased with the fact that we were able to retain that in community ownership.
So why did you sell the other two council buildings in Henderson? What was the reasoning behind that?
Part of this whole relook at council-owned buildings throughout the whole of the Auckland region has been having a look at the amount of office space that council needs around the region. As people do more and more of their work with council over the internet, not everybody needs to come physically into a council building now to do their business with council, and we simply had too much office space around the region. So to make sure that we are stewarding ratepayers' money sensibly, we've looked at rejigging the amount of building that we need whilst still making sure that people have got access to a service centre. So our large administration building is being sold together with Central One, and they'll continue their life either as commercial buildings or repurposed as pretty stylish apartments in the middle of Henderson. But the key issue is people will still be able to come into our old council chambers, use them for community use, and visit council staff as they need.
We also spoke with Shane Henderson, chair of the Henderson-Massey local board, to get his take.
I grew up in Kelston, and Henderson was always seen as the exciting place to go when I was a young kid. When we would come here to hang out, we would come here to do our shopping. It was just the place to be. And I got my first job here at the age of 17, and I really saw the progression of Henderson from being the capital of Waitākere City, the exciting place, and through a real decline, especially around legal highs and around the homelessness epidemic. Until a couple of years ago, it was in real dire straits. But today I think we're turning it around. I think there's a real hope and a real optimism and excitement out there. It's really exciting. There's a population here in Henderson of 13,000 people, which is 11% of the population of the Henderson-Massey board area. And I actually think that's a bit on the low side. I would hope that in terms of a CBD, it would be a place where people would want to live and would want to raise a family. And so we're hoping actually to raise that and to really meet the high growth that's projected over the next 30 years and even hopefully exceed it. It's a place where it'll be a great place to raise a family. Unfortunately, we have a bit of an issue in Henderson at the moment. We've received an economic prosperity report from AT, which states that local jobs here are on the decline. They're about half of what the Auckland average is. And so we're seeing people living here and going to the CBD or going to Panuku to work. And that is a situation that we find really unacceptable, and we're hoping to turn that around and promote local jobs here. So the status of Henderson today is that we're optimistic, we're excited, we've got to keep this momentum going.
The local board is prioritizing reinvigorating Henderson. Can you tell me, what is the board actually doing?
Yeah, we're doing a bunch of different things, and this all started back in 2014. We as a local board got together with our community, and basically we decided enough was enough, and we needed to get things together. So we did something called the Henderson Implementation Plan. What that was concrete actions for what the local board can do, but also what the board can advocate for the governing body and for central government and with the community as well. So what does Henderson need, and here's a bit of a roadmap on how to get there. Now, with that plan passing in 2014, I really feel that we're starting to see the fruits of that now, and that's really exciting. And for our 3-year local board plans, Henderson has been a high priority for the past plans and the current local board plan as well. So one of the initiatives that we've done as a local board is get together something called the Buskers Festival. So it's now in its 3rd year, and it's where we get young musicians, most of them from the local area, and most of them haven't performed much in front of the public as well, giving them an opportunity, giving them a crack, and getting them to perform as part of a festival in our underutilised spaces. We have so many gaps in the Henderson town centre where we could put on performances and we could do these exciting things, and so we wanted to prove that that was possible. That Buskers Festival has been going strength to strength, and it's getting attention now from a wider audience. The other initiative that we have been doing at the moment is something called the Kitchen Project, and we've been working with Panuku Development Auckland on that, and that's giving people a chance at getting started in the local businesses for restaurant and hospitality. That's really cool and creating a bit of a buzz as well. So it's all happening in Henderson, and we're proud to be doing our bit.
Shane, you've been a keen advocate of public transport as well as active transport in Henderson. What are some of the projects happening to improve transport in and around Henderson? And we're sitting here in the Japanese Garden in Henderson next to the train station, as you can probably hear. So this is a great place to ask this question.
Yeah, can you guys hear that train just going past here now? And this will be really part of the heart of what we're doing in terms of transport. So I've got an exciting project to share with you guys. It's called the Panuku Link project. So the local board are putting aside $1.5 million of our capital fund, and that is for walking and cycling connections, and it's going to be connecting this train station here and the Japanese garden that we're sitting in, and we're going to be able to walk right across the current council-owned land here in Henderson Valley Road and go across the street and over through Panuku Reserve and through a footbridge which you can walk and cycle on over the Panuku stream through to Corbin Estate and through to Henderson Park. That is such an exciting project, and it's something that the public have been really demanding for a long time. So on a wider level, we need to look at how people are getting in and out of Henderson to really promote this place as a future destination. And so we've been advocating for development on Lincoln Road to make it a much better place to walk and to cycle and to use public transport, because in all of those areas, Lincoln Road is coming up short at the moment. The other exciting project is the City Rail Link. That's going to be a huge thing for Henderson. So we'll be expanding our rail platform so people can get straight on the train here and you're in Midtown before you know it. It's going to be really great. It's going to benefit Henderson so much. Finally, we're looking at a walking and cycling connections plan. Now that will be utilising some of our paths, both through parks and through the town centre and through all different places, so that there are better walking options for people that we can upgrade and we can make people feel like this is part of their home again and give people a bit of hope. It's very cool. And just finally, we'll be redeveloping the Panuku Park, the Panuku Reserve here, just as part of that connections development, and putting $1 million into that project so that we've got a beautiful little centrepiece park right by the train station that you can just walk or cycle to. So, and in terms of transport, we're really transforming this place and making it a lot better.
We also spoke with Richard Davison, Project Director for Henderson at Panuku Development Auckland. As mentioned, Panuku is Auckland Council's urban regeneration agency. We asked him why Henderson was chosen as an unlock site?
Panuku works across about 10 locations in Auckland, and they were all chosen for their merits through the urban location analysis process. And what we came out with was some key criteria around brownfield sites, town centres, the amount of land holdings that council has, the opportunity to leverage some of council's strategies and policies such as public transport, higher intensification, leveraging amenities and other things. So 10 locations were chosen, and Henderson was fortunate enough to be one of those because it's got really great natural amenities, it's got great public services and great public transport, and we have a few key council sites that have the ability to transform or revitalise the area.
Now, I know you work with across the council family, including with Auckland Transport, the Henderson-Massey local board. How does your Panuku's work fit in with work that's going across other areas of council?
That's one of the great opportunities of Panuku in Henderson, is that we're one of the few parts of council that takes that place-led and place championing approach. For example, Auckland Transport, Water Care, and the Stormwater Department, these are all functions, and they're really focused on networks and things moving, whereas Panuku are really only interested in places and one place at a time. So it's really the key opportunity is to shine a spotlight on Henderson, and the way that we can make that bear fruit is by encouraging and advocating to other departments and organisations such as Auckland Transport, Healthy Waters, Water Care, to actually take a moment and focus on a place rather than passing through a place with their services, actually saying, well, let's focus on some work programs in a particular area. This would not otherwise take place unless there was a voice for the location. We already have elected voices for those locations, but at the staff and operational and technical levels, having someone shouting, jumping up and down for Henderson is a really great movement changer in the organisations to get change in Henderson. And I think the Unlock Henderson program has brought Auckland Transport and the other departments and organisations along with them, and we're managing to start to get better alignment of priorities, a better time of looking at it. We look forward to working with them.
So I know there's a number of sites within the Henderson Town Centre that you're working with. Can you give us a sense of what is the overall project area for Unlock Henderson and maybe a couple highlights of some of those sites?
Yeah, so the overall project area, it's an important component of the plan. The project area at the technical level is around 150 hectares, roughly a 1 kilometre circle around the Henderson train station, which really brings together all of the core amenities and services in Henderson. This boundary is a really important boundary because it's what we call the reinvestment boundary. So we can only sell, develop and reinvest within that boundary. So it is an important point that we want to stress. And within that, there's a range of service sites and properties which Panuku will not be looking to develop or revitalise. The key opportunity in Henderson is to revitalise vacant or underutilised or surplus land. And some of the key opportunities there are underutilised car parks. In this particular case, the Henderson Council building facility is a underutilised property.
My understanding is Panuku, you don't actually build the houses or the properties or the infrastructure. You facilitate that. How does that work?
That's a good question, and that's one where we get a lot of questions from the community. Panuku is essentially council's land development agent. So when the process has been concluded that there is property that is surplus to requirements or able to be redeveloped for other uses, we go through a process of seeking development partners to build on that land. Because we're using ratepayers' money, we are not looking to take risks with that land in terms of actually building the houses that cost, $300,000-400,000 to build and then trying to sell them for more. The opportunity that we have is in the land itself. So through development agreements, selling those properties, or as we call it, disposing of those properties for development with required outcomes in them, which is the whole purpose of the Unlock Henderson high-level project plan, helps to identify and clarify with a potential developer of what we want on the land as a community. So, for example, if we're going to look at a car park to redevelop into housing, we won't build those houses, but we will sell the land for housing, high-quality housing that focuses on families, builds in all of the goals and principles of Unlock Henderson. So the outcome is a financial benefit from a land sale.
So you mentioned high-level project plan. Just very briefly, what does that mean?
That's a jargon term, and that is a term that we use within Panuku to identify the initiating document that created Unlock Henderson. It is publicly available on our website, and it basically spells out the 7 properties that we've identified within the project area that we've just described, and it identifies from those proceeds of sale what potentially the public good reinvestment projects are, such as the cycleways and eco initiatives.
Correct me if I'm wrong, what you're doing is not just about disposing of property, it's about regenerating Henderson, activating it, getting more people in there. And I know you're doing some shorter term projects to bring people into Henderson, such as the kitchen project and the bike hub with Eco Matters. Tell me what you're doing on those things briefly and what's the intention.
Yeah, I think that's another good myth to dispel, is Panuku's not just there to sell land, get the receipt and move on. Panuku's based on 3 pillars: property development, public good reinvestment, and placemaking. So what you've raised there is the placemaking component. So once we've been able to divest or dispose and develop a piece of land and we've managed to get a sale receipt, we identify the public realm projects to reinvest in, such as a cycleway project or an open space enhancement. But these all take a lot of time to actually come to fruition. We have a lot of processes, planning and documents and approvals to get that money to be activated on a site with a digger, which is what the community identify with progress. So in the meantime, we undertake a segment of our business called placemaking, which is where we undertake interim activities to warm up the community for change, to help to consult, to help with energizing the site pre-development. So the items that you've identified, such as the kitchen project, the bike hub, the pump track, the community garden, these are all temporary placemaking activities before that site, which is the staff car park of the Henderson Council buildings in this case, to be warmed up before development. It's also a really great way of bringing community inclusion and getting feedback prior to development, which helps us to influence the projects.
And I want to pick up on what you just said about community. Obviously, that's what's most important here. What opportunities does the Henderson community have to be involved, and what are you doing in that area?
That's a great question, and that's something that takes up a lot of our time. We are a council organization, so absolutely engagement and consultation is a core part of what we do, and we have dedicated resources to facilitate that. So at a process and team level, the way that we facilitate community is, first and foremost, we've created 3 community peak body groups to help us inform and respond to project proposals, and that is done through our senior engagement advisor. And then as part of that, and just recently as an example, we did an expression of interest for a mana whenua artist and a open to the public artist to facilitate one of our projects, and we've had great community response to that as well. Particularly also in the engagement, every project will go through a consultation phase. We will leverage these types of processes to engage with the community. We of course look to the local board and their advisors to help us reach those communities. And one way of including the community is through the medium of events. And so we had a very large event that we were seeking to progress earlier in the year, and unfortunately that got swept away by the big storm that we had in April. So whilst it hasn't been seen on the ground, we have many different formats and forums and ways to engage with the community, and we look forward to engaging with them as we go forward.
Everything that we've talked about so far is aimed at creating a better future for Henderson. So we'll give the final word to our local politicians on what they see ahead.
So we're talking about the future of Henderson, but I'd just like to touch on the fact that Henderson right now is a stunning place. I have a lot of meetings in Henderson, and I'm a very keen daily e-biker, so I bike into Henderson, and as I bike, as I did yesterday, it's a chance to really reflect on the beauty of this area, going along the shared paths. It's, about 15 minutes into the centre of Henderson, past the creeks, past the twin stream cycleways, and with just a little bit more vision and a little bit more investment, we can bring it up to its best. It's got a proud history, it's got everything going for it, and I think it is a magical and wonderful place.
Penny Hulse.
So I suppose when I think about a vision for Henderson, I don't really want to harp on my vision, because this development is not for me and Penny. It's for our children and their children. This is about a 21st century family town. And when I was growing up living on Hobsonville Air Base, Henderson was the place to go. Friday night in Henderson for teenagers was just awesome, and everybody went there. But I was really privileged to spend a whole afternoon with a group of masters architecture students from Auckland University. And Panuku are putting forward Henderson as a site for a competition, international competition on, I think it's zero carbon towns. And these students have been working on this project, and it was just amazing to see what they took from visiting Henderson, talking to iwi. They reflected on the history of vineyards and orchardists from Orotia and Lincoln Road, the natural landscape, our streams, and they developed concepts for housing around the streams and in the centre that reflected their view of what a modern family town would be in the 21st century. So that's the kind of inspiration that we need to look for. We need to look at it with a new eyes, but based on the past, the rich history and that real potential that Henderson does have again.
Linda Cooper.
Yes, Henderson has always been the heartland of the West, and we're hoping the future of Henderson will be as an urban eco-centre where people want to live, they want to work, and they want to have fun right here in the heart of West Auckland. So that's our future, and we're really excited.
Shane Henderson.